Well, hello there and welcome back to this F1 2020 My Team Career Mode with the not so little Minardi team anymore comfortably in the midfield, and we're at round 7 at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Canada. And straight away you might be thinking, hold on a second, I'm sure at the end of the previous episode he was looking forward to going to Azerbaijan. Well, I was, until I got to the end of the race, and well, to be honest with you, it was when I decided to edit the Azerbaijan weekend, because obviously I do the races and then obviously I edit it, you know, a week or two down the line whenever I get the time to do it. So, long story short, I managed to do the intro fine for Azerbaijan, the report from FP1, FP2 and FP3, and then when I went to record qualifying and the race, unfortunately the file became corrupted. Now, this is not the first time this has happened with the recording software that I use connected to the PlayStation. I remember back, I think in 2017, I lost a couple of races over the course of about 4 seasons where the recording software, for some unknown reason, decided to corrupt after it as well. And also, I can remember that I lost all of my data, I think, after the first 5 or 6 races of 2018. Bearing in mind I'd only uploaded 5 or 6 races at that point, and I was already comfortably well within season 2, and I lost the absolute lot. So, not the first time it's happened. I bloody well hope it's going to be the last. So, before we go to FP1, it's going to be a bit of an update. So, the first thing we'll do then is look at the weather for Canada. Right, FP1's going to be wet, same for qualifying. The rest of the weekend is going to be sunny and overcast. That's fine. As for messages, weekend preview weather forecast, a little bit of dry weather there somehow towards the end of qualifying. Could be quite interesting if you manage to nail that right and get a quick lap in, but at least the race is going to be dry. Right, so we'll scroll through this. The rivalry of Gasly, he out-qualified us in the qualifying session at Azerbaijan, and he beat us by an extra point as well in the race. So there's one race weekend remaining. We're now 6 points behind. We need a minor miracle to see this one off. As for our driver details, we remain on 50 points. We didn't finish in the points at Azerbaijan. As for the R&D, there has been a little bit of an update over here. On this screen, nothing. I decided to do nothing after Azerbaijan and tried to save up a load of resource points, tried to get like 3 or maybe even 4 major upgrades on the car at the same time. But the big thing is, between Azerbaijan and Canada, we had a patch update, patch 1.06 from Codemasters for this game. There's a few things involved, but one of them was at the end of the season, when teams unsuccessfully managed to redevelop all of the parts that are going to be made illegal before the patch, it didn't show up on the performance screen, as you can see here. Now it's been patched and it does, and immediately you can look at that and go, oh my god, how many teams lost performance going into Australia? Well, I'll tell you, Mercedes kept level. They got everything done that they needed to do. Red Bull took a big hit, Ferrari took a big hit, Renault took a massive hit, Racing Point, McLaren, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams all took hits. We made a slight gain with our pre-season upgrades. So Mercedes stayed level, we made a gain. Every other team took a bit of a L, which means they've been playing catch up ever since. And what it means is that we're now ever so slightly ahead of Alfa Romeo and very close back to the back, I should say, of AlphaTauri, McLaren, Racing Point and Renault. There's a big gap between Renault and Red Bull and Ferrari, and a big gap between Ferrari and Mercedes. But obviously there's a big gap between ourselves and Haas, or I should say ourselves and Alfa Romeo and Haas, and a big gap between Haas and Williams. As for upgrades between Baku, where as you can see there at the bottom, we finished 14th. We did finish, it was a very tricky weekend, but unfortunately outside of the points, so our point streak ends. Williams had a slight upgrade, as did Racing Point and Mercedes as well. So it doesn't change anything in terms of our performance on track. We're still going to be as competitive with the midfield as we had been for the first part of the season. It just means that now we can visually see where we are in the pecking order. Beforehand, we were behind all of these guys in the midfield and going, wow, we're doing really well here. A bit of a false bluff, to be honest, a bit of a double bluff. If you look at it there, we were doing really well. That's because we are right with now the midfield. So The next couple of races are going to be quite interesting. A couple of big upgrades for us can probably shoot us right up ahead of Renault. It depends what the rest of the midfield do as well. But the top 3 teams, or Mercedes and then Ferrari and Red Bull, are streets away at the moment. So our early season performances of a 10th, 8th, 7th, 10th and 7th. Yeah, it's pretty much right, considering we are in the midfield. That's where we're expected to be. So it's nice to get that patch done and the update done as well. So we really do see now our true performance comparison with all of the other teams. As for power units, level 1s we've been using in the practice sessions. Level 2s will move on into obviously qualifying in a race. Both of them are still relatively healthy. Units number 1 might be starting to come to the end of her life. You can see they're 51% on the turbocharger. Units number 2 though still relatively strong, and we haven't even touched on the units number 3 yet. As for the gearbox, practice gearbox, ordered a new one during the Baku Grand Prix, so we've got a new one on there that's only completed 1% wear, and we have a new event gearbox as well. It does say 35%, but we have completed 6 of our 6 race weekends, so once we go into FP3 there will be a brand new event gearbox on there. The weekend tyre allocation for Canada, same as I usually go for, 2 sets of mediums that we use in FP1. FP2 and FP3 will be sets of softs, but we know there is wet weather there. As for the standings, we remain in 10th place on 18 points. Nick De Vries on 9 in 14th, and we remain in 6th place in the Constructors' Championship on 27. You see results, no one actually retired from Azerbaijan, which is pretty good. We qualified, by the way, down in 20th place. I do struggle at this circuit, but we got a lucky safety car just after the a majority of us started in the soft tyres, soft onto hards, but there were 3 or 4 cars out there that went onto the medium tyres that decided to not pit under the safety car. It arrived, I think, lap 7 or 8, something like that. We all pitted off of the soft tyres into the hards. The medium one has stayed out there, which is why some of them finished further back than would be expected. Verstappen down in 13th, Perez in 15th as well, Sainz in the McLaren was down in 16th, and Raikkonen as well down in 19th place. So Nick De Vries finished 17th in that race, so we beat our teammate at least, but still it was a slightly difficult episode it was overall in Azerbaijan. And the trophies you can see there, top 10 in the first 5 races, 14th at Baku. Right, so that was a very, very long introduction. I think what I'm going to do here now, because it's such a long introduction and you want to see some action from qualifying, certainly because it's mixed weather and the race as well, I'm going to do FP1, 2 and 3 all off camera. FP1 we're probably going to miss because it's going to be heavy rain anyway, and then I'll give you a generalised update of how the practice sessions have gone before the qualifying session. So we'll advance to FP1 now, and the next time you see from me will be probably the final classification, I think, from FP3, give you a quick update how it's gone, and then advance into the all-important qualifying and race sessions. Okay then, so here we are at the end of FP3. We're struggling is the best way to describe it. I don't know really what's going on. Canada's a hit and miss circuit for me. I've modified the setup various times, and you'll see it in qualifying for what I'm going to go to. I have found a bit of pace in FP3, but we are still off the pace of where we are expected to be. As you can see, we're not even in the top 14. I think we're 18th or 19th. I'll go through the order in a second. As for FP1, FP2 and FP3, we haven't managed to complete all of our practice programs either. We got purple in 4 of them. The 2 we didn't do was the ERS management. We were constantly too slow in that, and I didn't even attempt the qualifying sim program as well. So it's been a low haul of points, I should say, for the resource points for development on the car. And yeah, I just seem to not be able to, I don't know, it's weird. It's really weird. Like I can't hook up the perfect lap. Even though that in some sectors I'm quick and some sectors I'm slow, and then I'll modify the setup a little bit, and then I'm slowing the quick ones and then quicking the slow ones as well. I've sort of gone for a setup that will have us quick down the straights, because that is where the DRS zones are, and that is where we're most susceptible to being overtaken, and quite slow in the twisty sort of sections, the first half of this lap as well, where it is difficult to overtake anyway. So I've sort of just bit the bullet really and gone, right, okay, if we're not going to beat people on ultimate pace, we'll try and defend from them at the points that we need to defend. So this is going to be, I think, a challenging episode. But as for FP3 times, Ricciardo fastest by over 4 tenths from Hamilton, which is a bit mad. Bottas, Leclerc, Verstappen and Norris inside the top 6. We scroll down to ourselves. Well, Nick De Vries in 15th, Vettel in 16th on the hard tyres. There we are in 18th, 2.161 off the pace. Latifi 4 tenths slower, or 3.5 tenths slower than us, but we're a tenth and a half away from even George Russell, and we're pretty much just over 3 tenths away from our own teammate, which is not nice because we've usually had the beating of him. We know Nick De Vries is getting a lot stronger with the development upgrades that we've been giving to him and the driver training that we're doing to him as well, which I will constantly do. I want my teammate to be the best he can possibly be, because that helps the team in the long run. Doesn't affect me too much, just helps the team in the long run. Stroll, Raikkonen and Kvyat down the bottom, obviously on different sets of compounds. So qualifying is going to be a struggle, as will the race as well. So all we can do is cross our fingers and hope to remain at least a little bit competitive. So the resource points, 550 we gained, which is still good. 210 from Nick De Vries. So we've got a nice healthy amount now. And the team acclaimed 26% for me, 22 for Nick De Vries, 48 combined for the team. So yeah, slightly lower on the resource points. Usually we're in the 600s, but 550 is still a good amount anyway. So we're back at the workstation then, with all 3 practice sessions complete. We'll look at the messages then, some information there about the circuit as well. The weather forecast hasn't changed, and qualifying is going to be very spicy. You can see there the first, well, probably 2/3 of it is going to be wet, and then it's going to dry, and then immediately go back to wet weather running. That is going to be absolutely crucial. I'm probably going to wait until it starts to dry off a little bit, which means I'll be pretty much sitting through 18 minutes to see when the best opportunity is to put on the dry weather tyres and see if anyone else does it as well. As for the race, it's going to be dry, overcast for most of it, but it is going to be dry. So the rivalry with Pierre Gasly, we've obviously lost that. R&D, obviously, we'll touch on this after the end of the episode. So the power units now change over. Maybe this would have had something to do with our overall performance at Canada. 54% you can see there on the ICE units number 1, 42, 50, 40, 58 and 34. Turbocharger certainly lagging a little bit, but we now make the change onto our better units. Hopefully that will boost our performances a little bit. Units number 1 is still good enough, I think, to get most of, if not all, of the practice programs done. It's just I feel uncomfortable around Canada as it is anyway. Anyway, we had a new practice gearbox. As soon as it hits 20%, I order a new one, and a new event gearbox as well. We've already completed 6 races without a penalty, so we can change the gearbox out, which is what we've done. 2% after FP3, the weekend tyre allocation, as you can see there. So we'll go to qualifying now. This is going to be a challenge. We've got to absolutely nail it if we're going to put in the, well, ideally like the quickest time of the session, or the quickest time that we can do in the qualifying session. It's going to be wet for a majority of it. How dry it will be when we have that dry spell for a few minutes, remains to be seen. It's only going to be a couple of minutes, so we need to time this absolutely right. So we'll advance to qualifying and see if we can pull it out of the bag. So here we are then, in the first minute of the qualifying session. In fact, we're into the second minute now, so I'll show you the setup quickly. Drain the fuel out, yeah, that's fine. Aerodynamics 5, 6 to be quick down the straights, but a bit weird around the twisty sections of the circuit I mentioned before. Just be quick down the straights, hopefully at defenders. Transmission 70, 70, a bit higher than normal, because I'm going to go for the 2-stop strategy here at Canada, so we can afford to run the diff slightly higher for on and off throttle. Basically, the higher you run it, the more tyre wear you accumulate. But if we're doing a 2-stop strategy that we're going to be doing, because as I've said before, in season 1 you don't lose a lot of time in the pits doing 2-stop compared to a 1-stop. So 70-70, quite higher than normal. Suspension geometry to the right, to the left for camber and toe. Suspension 7-8, 6-7, 4-5. So again, a little bit different from what we normally do before. Usually everything else is a bit lower down. I'm sort of experimenting as I go through season 2. Brakes 154, that never changes. Tyre pressures as well, front right and left down by 1, rear right and left are down by 3. So Tyre selection. One of the intermediate tyres, because obviously it's wet at the moment, but the dry tyres are only about 4 and a bit, nearly 4.5 tenths slower than the intermediates. We will do a lap on the intermediate tyres. There's quite a few cars out there already, so we might as well join them out on circuit to try and get a banker in, or try and get a quick lap in at least on the intermediate tyres. How quick we'll be compared to our rivals remains to be seen, just so in case it does stay wet for the entire session. But I'm hoping with a few minutes to go it does transition onto dry, so we'll drop everything down that we need to do. And now out onto the circuit. As you can see, the pit lane exit completely bypasses turn 1 and you arrive on the outside of turn 2. That and the fact that you shoot into the pit lane entrance whilst you're supposed to be braking for the final chicane is why you spend so little time in the pit lane here, and why a 2-stop strategy probably is more favourable, really, because you can move up and down the order, you can go for the more aggressive tyre strategy, and it can pay dividends at the end if you're a little lucky. It's one of the very few circuits around here that a 2-stop strategy is probably better than the one. Might be slightly slower, but in general it is better. We're on the outlap now, so this is one of the 3 DRS zones. The other 2 are down the back straight, very long back straight, and then across the main straight as well. Both of those have their own detection points to allow De Vries through. The last thing we're going to do is hold him up. So it's the first time I've run at Canada in the wet. I have absolutely no idea if the setup is going to work for me, but it's a dry setup because it's going to be a dry race. So I'm happy to sacrifice grid position for a better race. And I assume most of the AI will be doing the same as well. So we'll bump everything up now to the max, even in these conditions. And we'll try and get a banker in. So coming across the line. My French isn't brilliant, but c'est terrible will be my lap. I think we're pretty much last. As we allow Latifi through, who is pretty much on my arse in that outlap. Yeah, it was awful lap. Awful, awful, awful. I was struggling with traction out of all the slow corners. And I just, yeah, basically is the best way to describe that lap time. We'll have a slow stroll back to the pits at least. And let's pray for a bit of dry weather at the end of it, because at the moment we are going, I think, to be absolutely dog shit last. is. Okay, literally 2 minutes left of the session. You can see there that the delta time is now down to just over 3 temps between softs and hards. I'm going to give it to 1 minute 45, and then I'm going out on circuit. Come on, come on. Just say there's going to be a bit of a decrease. You scroll through the tyres, that shows you. Okay, we've got nothing to lose. We're going to risk it. We're going to risk it. We've got to go out on circuit now. Insufficient time remaining. Ignore and go to track. Drive out. Oh, please tell me we're going to get round in time. The rain has stopped. This is a risk because if the track is going to be completely wet still, then we're pretty much buggered. Come on, get me out the garage. 122. Oh, this is going to be so tight. Ah, yeah, it's still crap. We've left it too late. We've left it too late. DRS is being enabled. We're not going to cross the lines. 10 seconds left. It's not going to happen. Oh, I'm so disappointed. If we'd managed... Oh, it's going to be P22 as well. Ah. Well, there is always a silver lining. Pole position has been taken by Nick de Vries. I would not have expected that, and well done to him. I'm not going to hold that against him, whatever. Minardi at the front and Minardi at the back. Well done to Nick de Vries. A lot of these guys then on the soft tyres gambled at the very end. We left it just too late, probably about 5 or 6 seconds too late to get across the line. We may very well being up with these guys. Ocon joins him on the front row. Stroll, Kvyat, Grosjean, Latifi, Perez, Giovinazzi, Magnussen, and then the first of the big boys, Hamilton, all the way back in 10th. This is an upside down grid. Russell in 11th, Gasly, Raikkonen, Bottas, Albon, Leclerc in 16th, Ricciardo, Verstappen in 18th, Vettel in 20th, and us and Sainz on the back row of the grid. I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. We missed a cut by 5 seconds, I reckon. The time ran out coming out the final chicane. It would have been great to get that final lap, and if we'd improved by 3 seconds or 1.8, it would have even put us up to 17th, you know. But we start at the back of the field. To be honest with you, because we're 20 seconds, no one ahead of us has a penalty that we know of, or that I can remember. I think this is probably a good opportunity to order a lot of new units and get that out of the way nice and early. So yeah, disappointing to be 22nd. Really pissed off actually that I missed a cut by 5 seconds. It was always going to be close, and to be honest, the delta time for the soft tyres didn't even look like it was changing, so it was a risk it could have paid off. Has paid off for Nick de Vries. He starts from pole position, a Minardi on pole. That's amazing. So back at the workstation, and before the race we have a message from Jeff. Pre-race basically. Alright, we're prepared as best as we can, but the rest is up to you. Go over there and do what you do best. I will certainly try my best. Anyway, new rivalry. Selected Carlos Sainz at medium difficulty. So he's won 2 of his 3 rivalries so far in this career mode. We've won 1 of our 6 races remaining. It's right then, so we might as well jump across to here now. We'll order... I kind of want to keep in sync with everything. So what we're going to do is order just a new energy store and a new control electronic system. That brings us up to level 3, and we'll take another grid penalty probably later in the season when we order everything for level 4. The feeling behind that is, and I know what I'm doing, basically level 1 will be used for the practice sessions, or level 1 and 2 will be used for practice sessions, level 3 will basically be used for the race. We might as well jump on to level 3 because we know that we're going to be running all of the unit number 3s, I should say. So yeah, we'll basically be starting at the back anyway with a massive grid penalty now. As for gearbox, I can't order a new one anyway. It won't allow me, but it's 2%. It doesn't really matter. So it will be full on level 3 for everything then going into the race. Level 1s and 2s I think can probably be used for the practice and the practice sessions from now on. Level 3 strictly for qualifying and the race. We'll take another grid penalty later in the season once level units 1 and 2 bite the bullet completely, and then we'll have to move on to units number 3 for the practice sessions, and then units number 4 for qualifying and the race. So 2 heavy hits during the season. We'll take the first one now. That's fine. Nothing less to talk about. We might as well just go to the race. Have a look at the race build-up and the grid introduction. Hopefully Nick de Vries takes no penalties and remains in P1, but we will definitely be starting from P22.
Hello and welcome to the Ile Notre Dame once again for what promises to be another incredible Canadian Grand Prix at a fiercely competitive circuit, where pole position can often be decided by less than a tenth of a second. With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula One calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average lap speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Let's start with Racing Point. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Nick de Vries lines up on pole position, and it's Esteban Ocon in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Stroll, Kvyat, Romain Grosjean and Latifi, Perez, Giovinazzi, Magnussen and Lewis Hamilton, Russell, Gasly, Kimi Raikkonen and Bottas, Albon, Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, Vettel, Sainz, Lee and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So there was the race build-up. Nick de Vries doesn't have a penalty, so he does start this race from pole position. That is officially Minardi's first ever pole position. Before this, they qualified, if we take into account, like, this is the Minardi team from the past, the best they had was at Phoenix in, I believe, 1990 or 1991, where Pirelli, who were one of the two tyre manufacturers that season, Pirelli and Goodyear. Pirelli brought in like a super sticky, super grippy qualifying tyre that some teams could use if they signed a Pirelli contract. Minardi was one of them, and Pierluigi Martini managed to qualify in P2. My history is on point. Other than that, the only other time Minardi's been at the top of the timesheets was back in 2003, where we had 2 qualifying sessions on a Friday and a Saturday, and your aggregate so you basically went out on Friday in championship order, so whoever was leading the championship went out first, whoever was at the bottom of the championship went out last, and then that order would be reversed going into the second qualifying session. As it was at the time, Jos Verstappen was last in the championship. It was a wet track to begin with, dried up towards the end, and he ended up setting the fastest time. So officially, Minardi did have a pole position, but it was in the first qualifying session. But certainly they have taken a true pole position here. So we have taken a massive penalty. We've changed all of our units onto units number 3, and we've also ordered the 2 new energy store and control electronic units as well. So we're all level 3, all 0% going into the race. It says P21. We are behind Norris. So soft, medium seems to be quite good. I might change it and go medium, soft. So I've got to add a stint to do this, and then we go back to this one and go to right, okay, so we've got to change that to hard, that to medium, remove that stint, go to soft, because we have all these tyres available to us. So that is the strategy we're going to do. We'll run with 1 lap's worth of extra fuel. The 4-stop is, looking at the 4-stop, is only 3.5 seconds slower, and of course we have loads of sets of soft tyres to go through in the race, because of course the qualifying was wet for the most part until the very end. So one of these sets of tyres that we might carry into the race might have like 2 or 3% wear on it, but everything else is going to be absolutely at 0%. So we will run with the 2-stop strategy. And now we'll get the formation lap on the go. So both of the McLarens and Vettel are just ahead of me. And at the front of the grid, we have Nick de Vries on pole position. And we'll have a slow pull away.
Okay, how was the pull away? You'll have a bit more grip than that on the start, but we need to warm the tyres properly now. Make sure you get some heat into the brakes as well.
So because we're at the back of the field, I can take my time with this formation lap and give it the bees down the back straight as well to try and get a bit of a launch. Everyone ahead of us is probably, in fact, I think everyone's going to be starting on the soft tyres, to be honest with you, and I think everyone will be probably locked into the one-stop strategy. If there are softs and hards out there, then fair play to them. The two-stop strategy is slightly slower on paper than the one-stop, hence why the three-stop strategy is slightly slower than the two-stop, only by a few seconds. The advantage of course running a two or three-stop race around a circuit like this, and there are a few circuits out there that do benefit this, is that you can pretty much just go flat out for the entire race. It doesn't really matter, you don't have to save the tyres, anything like that, you can just absolutely go for it for the entire duration. The disadvantage of it, of course, is if you come out, let's say after your first stop in heavy traffic behind cars that are on harder tyres and you can't get past, then you'll lose the advantage of basically being able to go flat out, because you can't go flat out because you're stuck behind others. So there are advantages and disadvantages to running an offset strategy. I think basically we'll just go as long as we can in the first half of the race. Careful with the fuel, careful with the ERS and all that jazz. And then basically once we make the change onto the soft tyres, it'll be an absolute case of just absolutely going for it. The diff, of course, is running at 70%, which is fine, because we need to make sure we can actually turn into and out of these corners. We've struggled in the practice sessions, we struggled in qualifying as well, where we was towards the back even when we was all out there on the intermediate tyres. I'm hoping now that the race brings us some better fortune. It's going to be a tightly contested pack for the first several laps as the quicker guys try to get past the slower cars, so we'll try to keep ahead. Okay, here we go. Oh, we've got Leclerc there. He's also on the mediums. And between the Ferraris here, which is something I never say would happen when I'm back in P19. Ah, bad exit there. Vettel's managed to get past. Better not have given us any damage. It hasn't.
That's a decent start. Good job.
Needs over the chicane a little bit. Defend the inside. Oh, love tap to Raikkonen. Up to P16. This is a very good start, actually. Just back out of that. They're all fighting behind. That's a very good start for us. This is going to be a very, what should I say, busy first few laps here. Everyone is going to be following everyone else. The slower cars are trying to make their way through past the quicker guys. We've made a blinding start, probably one of the best of the season, actually. Ah, brushed the wall. Oh, I think we've got damage. And we don't. Drive in the middle of a circuit. Where's Ricciardo going to go? Around the outside.
By 11.1 seconds.
So you go from Jeff. We're trailing our teammate by 11 seconds. He's leading. We're 17th. 11 seconds separates the top 17. That's how contested, or contested isn't the word I'm looking for. How much of a clusterfuck it is. There we go. We'll use that word. You can see just how many people there are sort of very close together. Crucial for us to stay on the back of these guys. They're all on the soft tyres, we're on the mediums. Verstappen's up behind me as well. And he won't be able to challenge going into this corner. I've knocked the diff down to 60%. The rear tyres are, as you can see there, ooh, close to Ricciardo, are quite a lot higher than the fronts, which is a bit worrying on a set of medium tyres as we get that corner all wrong. can't really find a way through at the moment. Everyone is so close together. Well, the leaders are sort of splitting away from everyone else. You can see on the track map there are a few gaps out there. I was late on the DRS whilst I was talking, and Norris is going to work his way past. It's back down to P18 then. Still a long way to go though. Some more cars in the pits coming off the soft tyres. Means there's a bit of a field spread now. I've got Kvyat behind me, who's already pitted for the medium tyres. I need Norris to get out of my way, really. I've got Stroll alongside me here. And he had our DRS as well. So push back to 5th. We're going to start slowly tumbling down the order a little bit. Okay, coming across the line now. Lap 14, we're all the way back into P7. New fastest lap vote is nice, and you can see there we've now got our pit window open. 15 laps on the mediums, 2 stints of 10 laps on the softs. Don't know where we'll rejoin, to be honest. I forgot Latifi behind us. That's how hard we're struggling now on these medium tyres. Latifi is pressurising us.
Gap to car in front is 2.2.
Right, we'll rejoin, I think, amongst that big old train towards the back. Still plenty to fight for. Got a racing point in as well.
Go now.
So unfortunately we'll join at the back, but now we can absolutely just go for it. I'm sure we'll catch back up. And we're caught up to them almost within 2 laps. New fastest lap as well, but over a second.
Keep this up.
And there we are, just like that. Bang, right back with them. They are quite slow in some of the, like, the hairpin towards the end of a lap. Turn 1, turns 2. I feel a lot better on these soft tyres. Can we make any improvements though? Hang around the outside.
Good job.
Up the inside of Norris as well. Giving it the bees now a little bit. Trying to push on. Oh, yeah, the flags. Oh, it must be Vettel. Going very slowly there.
Okay, the incident has
Gaining on Grosjean. Gaining.
Full course caution. The safety car is out. Keep an eye
Oh,
on the
please tell me we made that pass stick.
to avoid a penalty.
I think we did.
Slow down. Maintain positive delta.
Oh, we should have come into the pits. Well, yeah, it was so late. The call was so late. There was absolutely nothing I could do. Alright, we're coming in now. Some people have stayed out, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have to pit again. I want to kind of head to get those guys that were behind us. It's going to be crucial now. Oh, a bit of a delay because they were serving Nick De Vries. I'm fine with that. Some of them are passing us though. How many can we get past? We'll do the McLaren, that'll be about it. We'll be back out in P20 then. It's not great. So we caught back up to the safety car queue. You can see I'm running rich mix because we have so much spare fuel.
Touch, please. We need to close to within 10 car lengths of the car ahead.
Yep, copy that, Jeff. So I'm running rich mix to try and not save any fuel really, because I don't want really 2+ laps with 10 laps to go. We're in a bit of a difficult situation here.
Again, the safety car is in this lap. When the field accelerates, remember there is no overtaking until the green flags. Safety car in this lap.
Yep, so the safety car's coming in. Like I said, we're in a difficult situation here. We're on soft tyres. We've got to make these things last about 12 or 13 laps, which is going to be difficult. Everyone else on the mediums, we didn't have any fresh sets of mediums, unfortunately, into this race. Oh, well, we had one, which we used at the start. So we've got to make hay whilst the sun shines and try to gain as many positions as we can. There are some guys ahead of us that still need to stop. How many need to stop, I don't know. And here we go.
Okay, clear.
Fuck off, science. Stay behind me. Cars are in the pits. What's that going to give us? We're moving up the order now. P14. So we've got to get our overtaking shoes on here. Oh, yeah. Might not be a bit wide. Everyone's pretty much on mediums. So we have an advantage for now. But our tyres will go off quicker than theirs towards the end of the race. We've just got to go for it now. So into lap 7, I'm pretty much stuck here. I can't do anything about the cars in front because we're all getting DRS and slipstream. And these cars are a bit, well, a lot better than us. And all we can do really is just hang on. Which is massively frustrating, to be honest with you. We're falling away here. The tyres already past their best. I'm trying very hard to not crash at this point. It's just been a nightmare of a fucking weekend here at Canada, to be honest with you. Off the pace in practice for whatever reason. Qualifying, we messed up at the end. And now we're falling backwards here as the soft tyres have pretty much given up. Which I knew they would. Massively frustrating. Well, coming into that 31, better news. Nick De Vries is solidly in the points. P5, I think he is.
The car behind us is lapping faster than us by around 1 second per lap.
So that's good for him. Looks like both the Alfa Romeos are 6th and 8th. We've got a Williams in 9th, a Haas in 10th. So this could be, for the first time in the career mode, that all 11 teams do score points in a season.
Fuel is looking really good. You're managing it well.
But for us personally, it's, yeah, we've improved from the start. Look at how much I'm struggling when it comes science. It's just a case of getting to the end now.
Is 2.9 seconds.
Okay, we're coming into the pits now, just 4 laps to go. We've got another set of soft tyres. I was in danger of crashing out there, to be honest with you. I really wasn't comfortable at all. And at this point, it's just a case of getting to the end of the race. We've absolutely pushed it on this lap. See if we can set the fastest lap of the race. And we do.
Keep this up.
Hopefully no one beats that. We don't get a championship point for it because we're outside the top, at the top 10. But we might as well just go for some nugget of glory. And we currently hold the fastest lap with 11.4. Well, I'll try to push a little bit. Last couple of laps. Try and close the gap to Russell, which is never really going to happen. Esteban Ocon has won. Nick De Vries is in the points, not too sure where. Pretty sure it's 6th place. Pretty sure that Haas and Williams have scored their first points for the season, as have Alfa Romeo. P20 for us, a weekend to forget. So Esteban Ocon wins the race, 3.1 seconds clear of Lance Stroll on the podium at his home event. Kvyat gets another podium to his name in P3. Bottas in P4. Nick De Vries from pole position down into P5. Yeah, I mean, I would have expected him to fall further back behind, to be honest with you. So 10 points to him and Minardi. Really, really good. Well done to Nick De Vries. Giovinazzi, pretty sure, scores Alfa Romeo's first points of the season with 6. And it's Gasly. Leclerc in 8th from 16th. Latifi, both the Canadians scored points at their home event. He started 6th, fell to 9th, but that's definitely Williams' first points of his career mode at least. And Hamilton did manage to get past Magnussen towards the end, so I don't think Haas, I think Haas are the only team now still on the 0. Outside of it, Norris, Perez, Verstappen, Sainz, Ricciardo, Albon, Raikkonen, George Russell, ourselves with the fastest lap. So we have our first fastest lap to our name. We don't get a championship point for it. You have to be in the top 10 for it. We did manage to comfortably Grosjean at the end. I think we probably would have been back here, to be honest, if we didn't stop for the third time. It was just one of those races where it just didn't seem to work out for us. So a look at the standings anyway. So Bottas has a 15-point lead over Vettel. Hamilton quite a long way back in third. Same for Verstappen in fourth. Lance Stroll, good strong start to the season for him. He's up into fifth place on 55 points. Kvyat as well, good start to the season for him. He's in seventh on 50 points. Perez, Ocon with his race win, and Albon round out the top 10. Gasly in 11. Nick de Vries jumps 1 point ahead of us, but 12th and 13th for Minardi, both of us close to 20 points already, is quite nice. Vince Ricciardo, Giovinazzi with his first points for the season. Sainz, Norris, Raikkonen, Latifi with his points to the season, which leaves both the Haas drivers and George Russell still yet to score. So in the constructors standings, then Mercedes hold a 26-point lead over Ferrari. Racing Point still in third place ahead of Red Bull, and AlphaTauri are starting to close that gap a little bit. Renault jump ahead of us, but we're still quite comfortable in seventh. McLaren not really having a strong season so far. Alfa Romeo wasn't their first points of the season, but they're back there in 16. Williams definitely their first points of the season with 2. Haas remain on 0. We look quite comfortable in P7. I think Renault and AlphaTauri will continue to put away, and to be honest, I think we'll end up in 8th once McLaren get their shit together. So the rivalry breakdown, we draw level with Sainz. He finished ahead of us, but we set a faster lap than him. So 3-3 after the first of 6 race weekends. The team acclaim, 26% for me, 22 for Nick de Vries, 48 combined for the team. He's getting close to level 2. We're starting to creep up towards level 18. And the cash, we completed all 3 of our secondary sponsors, so that's a nice $1.1 million on top. Damage deductions from both of us, we still gain an extra $50,000, putting us from 18.0 to 19.2. So then we've got 10 days until the French Grand Prix at the Paul Ricard circuit. $19.28 million in the bank. Nearly 4,000 resource points. We've got a durability upgrade coming in, an invitational event which I will skip, and then some more weekly resources and running costs. We have some activities that we can probably do. GeForce training to increase Nick de Vries' racecraft by 2. We might as well get that on the go. And we also have a marketing strategy conference which improves the team acclaim by 200. A second driver press tour which increases his acclaim by 200, costs $10,000. Sponsor advertisement for the drivers. The team gains 400 in acclaim and $25,000 in cash, and a power department focus. I think we'll go for the power department focus for one very, very good reason. I'm about to max out all of our upgrades there, if as much as I can. And a marketing strategy conference we might as well do. Right then, so facilities. How long have we got until Nick de Vries is 14 days, 10 days until France? So after this race weekend, we're going to have to re-sign him. So we need really, I think, let's say $7 million we need. So we've got 12 million that we can spend on the facilities. The durability. Why is it flashing resource point generation spec 2 for that? Oh, 18th of June, that's why it's coming in. Yeah, so durability will be fully spec 2 in the next few days. Personnel department's already spec 2. Marketing is going to cost 20 million, so we can't do that. Powertrain department 5, 10, 15, 21, so we can't do it all. Right, okay, is it the same for over here? It is. And is it the same for the chassis department? It is as well. Right, okay, I think then we won't do any facility upgrades, because rather do 1 or 2 at a time. I'd rather get it all to spec 2 at the same time. But we do have Nick de Vries coming in with a new contract soon, so I think we're going to have to hold off on this for a few race weekends. So we've got some activities there. GeForce training for Nick de Vries, power department focus, marketing strategy conference. Right, power department focus for one very, very good reason. The powertrain department currently build time decreased by 6%, failure chance decreased by 3%, and we have 3 major upgrades that we can do. We can only do 2, that's fine. If you look at the durability side, we're sort of okay on that at the moment. It might be something we do in the off season. Chassis as well, we seem pretty good at that, but the morale is a bit low at the moment. The aerodynamic department as well, we are getting very close to reaching the maximum for that, but we seem okay. But definitely a power trait we need to think about improving. So we've got the magnetic compound for the energy recovery system. We have the cylinder head for the engine power, and we also have the ECU for fuel efficiency. So We can only do 2 of these. We can't do 3 because we're not Spec 2 just yet. So we might as well get both of these on the go. So we'll do the... I think we'll do the magnetic compound, because we do that we unlock another major upgrade, and this one as well we'll do the ECU for another major upgrade. So magnetic compound, replacing traditional magnets within the grooves of the rotor with a sophisticated collection of rare earth materials with stronger magnetic properties, creates a stronger magnetic field and thus increases energy recovered. That is a lot of words. Hopefully, if it passes first time, between Austria and the British Grand Prix, so we'll have to wait quite a while for that. So we'll come down here then to the ECU. The ECU can be remapped to better coordinate the fuel to air mixture for greater efficiency. Basically, we can fuel save just a little bit more. Again, 7th of July between Austria and the British Grand Prix. So we have a bit more money. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. We have a bit more money to spend, 1,627. We could look at the aerodynamic or the chassis department. We'll have a look at the aerodynamic department because we put a lot of work in the chassis department last season. So this is the streamlined suspension arms. Right, so streamlining the shape of the suspension arms results in less drag without compromising the suspension setup. That'll be the 9th of July, a couple of days later than the powertrain department. That's fine for us because obviously the powertrain department's got a bit of a morale boost at the moment. 427 left. Can we get this minor done? We can't. 725. Can we get this done? 725. Absolutely nothing up here we can do. It's all wildly already expensive. So 2 major upgrades and from the powertrain department and a major upgrade from the aerodynamic department will hopefully all arrive first time between Austria and Silverstone in a couple of races time. Progress history you can see there. Something's changed with the progress history. I might have mentioned it in the previous episode. In fact, I'll mention it now in case I forget. So we had a recent patch on the game which basically showed that all the teams in the off season but didn't legalise all of the parts that needed to be changed. It didn't originally show their drop in performance. That has been patched in the last few days and it's now on the game. So I might have mentioned it in the last episode or even at the beginning of this one. I can't fully remember, but if you look there on the left hand side between basically the start of the season in Australia, a majority of teams failed to make any inroads. We made a slight improvement. Mercedes stayed level, which is why we are now just behind Alfa Romeo, and you can see there are some noticeable gaps between Mercedes, back to Ferrari and Red Bull, and again between Red Bull and Renault, and obviously Haas and Williams are quite a way behind. So that's a patch that has been fixed, and now we can see the true reflection of our pace throughout this season. As for the vehicle, we've been moving off units number 3, as you can see there, all brand new that we took on with the penalties, going on to units number 1 and 2 for the practice sessions in France. Gearbox is fine, 7% after 1 full weekend. Practice gearbox is fine as well. For the corporate side of things then, sponsorship, everything seems okay over here, although Atlantic and Zaynetto will need to be redone at some point as well. Contracts, we know that Nick de Vries is coming to the end of his 8-race contract. We will obviously be keeping him. Driver market as well, nothing really to look at just here. No one's moved teams yet. Hopefully we do at some point. The finance department as well, everything's looking very healthy with the history as well going up further and further. So then the standings, 12th and 13th for Minardi, 7th for the team. So we'll advance time now and get the G-Force training in for Nick de Vries, the durability upgrade to bring that department up to Spec 2, the invitational event that we will skip and advance, power department focus, weekly resources coming in, running costs, marketing strategy conference as well, and now we can get ready for France. Allocation will be probably, I think we'll go balanced here because I kind of want to... we only really do 3 runs in qualifying, and I wouldn't mind carrying over a couple of fresh sets of mediums into the race. So for a change, we're going to go balanced. We'll have a look at the corporate side of things and see what's going on with Nick de Vries. So his racecraft has gone up by another 2, so he's now an overall 84 rating. His value hasn't gone up, which is quite good for us in terms of signing him for a new contract. Atlantic and Zanetto have just 11 days left. R&D as well. We'll give an update on that going into the next episode. Facilities and durability is now fully Spec 2. We'll look at the rest of these during the course of Season 2. And that will be the episode done then. So, disappointing really overall in Canada. We just wasn't on the pace in the practice session. Really struggled to get most of the practice programs done. Qualifying if we left the pits with another 10 with an extra 10 seconds, we might have been further up the order. As it was, we started at the back with some penalties for taking on additional units, which is fine, which helps us in the long run as the race as well. I was expecting a bit more from that. I wasn't expecting to car through the field, but we really did struggle with the tyre around there. Obviously, I might have gone the wrong way on the setup looking at it, but it's unfortunate. We had a good strong run at the beginning of the season with some consistent point finishes. Last couple of races we've been well out of the points. Hopefully we can bounce back at the Paul Ricard circuit. Around 8 to the halfway point of season 2. So thank you very much for watching this episode, and I'll see you all for the next one.